So today we are going to tell a story of our narcissistic ex-business partner and what is narcissism and how do we end up in this narcissistic abuse relationship with him. And yeah, so we'll bring you through the cause and effect of this kind of like relationship. Why is it important is because after being through this narcissistic abuse relationship, we discovered that actually narcissism is apparently pretty common in our in our society, and it's not very well spoken of because there are still quite a lot of people who wasn't aware about this kind of like relationship and power dynamics. So for this sharing, we like to kind of like educate and bring more information to the public in terms of what we have learned, what did we learn, from this process. So it isn't a blaming session, but rather it's also a good way for us to consolidate our learning and share with people who need help in this aspect. Yeah. I think what happened? Yeah, wow, it's such a long time ago. Yeah. Like around 3 years ago. So Li Xuan, me, and another business partner, let's call him BG. So three of us, we started a business on doing retreats for other people. So we help people on their emotional and mental wellness. Because like in Singapore, a lot of people are pretty stressed about life as well as their career. So we do retreats to help people improve, to relax and distress. So in this business that we form with BG, like even though the business is going well, we are making money, but we broke off the partnership with him because he told us some lies, and he also did all these like small little things to kick us out of a business partnership. And I think the worst thing that we experience is actually gaslighting. Yeah. Have you heard of like gaslighting?
You're asking me and Lishan?
Yeah, gaslighting. I only
Yeah.
know this term after I Google.
Same. I think it's
Yeah,
after this experience, then we realized
yeah.
all the different terms there was, right, to this narcissistic manipulation. Mm. I think gaslighting, to me, my understanding of gaslighting is like, for example, maybe BG said something in the past, and then you kind of like hold him accountable to it. But after you tell him, hey, I think you said this in the past before, then he'll deny it or say like, no, I never said that, or like you're imagining things. So I think gaslighting is really causing people to question themselves and doubt doubt their own sanity or doubt their own memory. And in the consequence of all this is that you'll really deeply confuse the other person and make the other person feel like it's just me, I don't know anything, or just like can't befuddle the person all the time. And when this is prolonged, right, the person will start to lose track of their reality, and they will not know what is real and what is fake anymore. That's my understanding of gaslighting.
So maybe I can ask a question. So what is it that each of us, each of you have experienced in terms of this interaction with BG, and how do you see it affecting the group as well?
I think for me, I can share in a couple of like stages, right? So I think this is only, I'm sharing this on hindsight, so it wasn't as clear to me when I was going through the experience. But then now I can kind of like talk through the different stages of like so-called friendship, or like this dynamic between BG and myself. So I think I met BG like a couple of years back, maybe 3 years ago. I think back then he was already in a business partnership with Audrey and Lishan. But so I met him in a capacity like of more like a friend lah. So just like some person that I've met, and we just like got along. Also, I thought. So I think initially it was like very interesting person, because he seemed to be like really spiritual, very like deep person who really could kind of like connect to me on a very deep emotional level, which I felt that I was unable to find in other people, in many other people. So most people will shun away from emotions and shun away from talking, you know, about their deepest fears or, you know, their deepest aspirations. But he seemed to be a kind of guy that was like so open-minded to listening about, you know, what is it that really makes you come alive? What is it that, you know, you really fear and you feel hurt about? Some things, some sorrows that you have never been able to share with others. So I think immediately I felt this like strong emotional bond to BG. And I think he always displayed a sense of very deep empathy, which I found very hard to find in other people as well. So I think that's how our friendship began, right? And then gradually, okay, so my personal experience is gradually he kind of like I think in a couple of like 4 to 5 months time, he'd say, hey, I have this idea, do you want to join me in creating this space where we can actually help other people to talk about things that truly matter to them? And I think he knew that that was something that I was very keen in. And okay, maybe I shouldn't say the name of the project, but like, so we started a project together. And we started a whole like weekly sessions to try to get people to come and you know, share their deepest thoughts about certain topics, certain touchy topics, like for example relationships, like talking about money, talking about, you know, what truly makes you happy and stuff like that. And I think it was like super intriguing to me because it felt like, hey, I really love to talk about topics like this, and I think providing people a space is like will be very beneficial for society in general. So I truly believe that I was doing something good, and I also truly believe that it will really help people. I guess like and then we kind of move on to the next stage, and I guess some of the red flags that came up for me was that it kind of became that I was like doing most of the work. So he will just like have this very grand idea, and then but ultimately like the groundwork or the legwork will be done by myself. So I will be like doing everything, and I guess that's actually okay because I'm kind of like keen in like doing things. I'm okay to do things, but I think what I was not okay about was the kind of like the shift in power dynamics in a sense, because we started this as like so-called partners, but then it ended up becoming very like not really micromanaging, but very controlling in a way that gave me fear, that induced a fear in me. You know, there are some people who maybe they are more like stickler, no, like they're more like a perfectionist, so they will say, hey, let's do it this way, let's do it that way. But it's actually okay because they do put in the effort and they do try to look at the thing to solve it together. But with BG, it felt like it was a personal attack on me. So whatever I did, I was not good enough, or he will try to induce fear by, you know, like shouting, or like, you know, using some kind of power thing, or like guilt tripping. So it was kind of like always pressing, and slowly it felt like it started to shift in that direction. And also, in addition to that, we were trying to run some experiments, I mean like some social experiments as well. And then he became quite abusive to me. So it was like mentally abusive. So he would like kind of like say very mean things or very harmful and hurtful things, or he would start shouting at me in public, or he would actually like threaten physical hurt to me. And then in some instances he would literally physically hurt me. So I mean, it's not in the extreme way where, you know, you have to be hospitalized and everything. So I never felt the need to like speak up about it, because it did not kind of range into this very like, it didn't like cause like immense hurt to me, but it was something that I think it was more like of inducing fear. So for example, he would like throw things at me, like he would throw like pens or like markers, or like he would just like hit me, but not in a very hard way. So it always kind of confused me, because I felt like it was not severe enough to raise an alarm, but at the same time it was not right. So it was always constantly in like, you know, kind of in my boundary, and then stepping out, and then pushing it a bit deeper and stepping out again. So throughout the process, I felt like my boundary was being squeezed like deeper and deeper until like I no longer had a boundary, and then he could access and do anything he wanted. And I guess that was the scary part of it, is that I lost a sense of self. I lost a sense of what was right and wrong, by allowing little things to happen that gradually rode into a bigger and bigger issue. So I think when I truly realized that this was something was wrong was when I really felt like very afraid. So I think there were many days that I felt a lot of anxiety. I couldn't sleep, or that I wanted to rest, but my mind was just like super like messy, and I just kept waking up in like fear. That's when I knew I was like really afraid. And I think finally I left, but maybe I can tell the story later after I kind of like after I merge my story back together with Audrey and Lishan. We can talk about our journey in the aftermath of it. But now I think I'll take a pause and I'll leave the floor to like Audrey and Lishan to share about, you know, what got them in and what did they experience throughout the way.
I think like BG know what I want, like, which is creating an impact, and he wrote me in through a business, yeah, that we had with Lishan as well. Yeah, so that's the motivation. Because of this desire to help people to create an impact, that's what I bought into his idea and some of his bullshits that he's telling us. Yeah. Then what got me out is I slowly realized that my reality doesn't tally with the things that he told us. I think, how do I say it? Okay, so in this business partnership, because he's like the leader, so he kind of had a lot of power in it. Even though we tried to voice out our point of view and show him the evidence and data why something won't work and stuff, he just keep dismissing us, and eventually it turned into personal attack. He'll just fed up for no reasons and say like, oh, things that really hit our confidence, things such as he scold vulgarities, he scold us like stupid, this kind of thing, which at that point in time, I didn't really pay much attention to, because I just thought it's his personality. It's his personality to scold vulgarities. So at that point in time, I don't have a strong boundary. I feel that, yeah, it's okay. But slowly, eventually, things kind of snowball into bigger and bigger problems. Things like money wasn't properly accounted for, and each time around when I asked him to do proper accounting, he just keep finding excuses not to work on it, and he'll bring up other irrelevant things to distract us. So after getting distracted for a few times, when I try to bring out the topic again, he still managed to avoid it again. So that's where I realized that actually he has been using our weaknesses against us. Things, because he has been constantly feeding us lies about ourselves as well as about what he's doing. So in a way, right, like so slowly we discovered that actually he didn't do much for the business. Like he was just busy like trying to scold us, control us. Then we kind of forgot that he didn't deliver the things that he needed to deliver. Then eventually when we confronted him on the business problems that we face, like quality, like the things that he said he's supposed to deliver, which he never ever do it. That's when we realized that, oh, actually he's not going to do it. And eventually he tried to kick us out of a business partnership. Yeah. Because of this, right, I realized that, oh, actually he's not going to change. He's just like bluffing us with lies. But in his world, it isn't lie. It's like, which I think is ridiculous. So when we confronted him, he denied everything. And sometimes he couldn't control his anger and he lashed out on us either by scolding or hitting us, which I thought is totally ridiculous. That totally broke my boundaries, and that made me wake up. Instead of like hang on to this so-called dreams that we had or vision that we had for the business, I realized that, oh, actually it's just his manipulation techniques to make us stay, to make us believe in him and listen to him. Yeah. So this when I kind of woke up. Yeah.
And if it's okay for you, if you're comfortable to share, what were some of the lies that you discovered? That they were lies. How do you know that?
So how do I know whether they are lies, right? I validate by, scientific approach lah. Just ask people, validate and look at the result rather than what people say. So at the start, I was a bit naive. So when people say something, right, I believe in it because I trust them and believe that they're honest enough to tell the truth. So one of the things that he said is, in a team dynamic of 3 people, like me, Li Xuan, and him, so often, right, he'll have private conversation with us individually. This is what I discovered later on. So he'll tell me, he'll badmouth like Li Xuan in front of me. Then I feel that, actually, I don't know whether is it truth or not. Yeah, no frame of reference. But also cannot ask Li Xuan, right? Then afterwards, this is just one data point. But I don't really believe in it since I have no experience with that interaction with Li Xuan. Then slowly afterwards, because we have some mutual friends outside of the business, then I met up with this mutual friend. Then I realized that he's not what BG claimed to be. So BG also badmouthed another friend. Then I realized that, actually what BG said is not the truth. Actually, BG is the one that's kind of like backstabbing, like people around their back, telling people things that's not the truth. So I kind of validate with a few friends to realize that, oh, okay, all these are just stories that he like to create conflict. Yeah. Because afterwards, I went to read like some books to try to understand narcissistic character behavior. Then I recognized that, actually he's pulling all these tricks on us. He's trying to create a diversion between the team. Because if you think about it, what's good for the team is actually working towards a common goal, right? But he, behind our back, he told us like, he badmouthed each of us individually to sow discord. And it's slowly dividing us to make us like enemies against each other. So to me, it sounds very, very off as a leader. Yeah. So this is the point where I kind of like started to wake up.
Sure, I knew BG a long time back. So initially I thought BG was a little bit odd, like behaving differently from others and things. And that was okay. I mean, I accept that not everyone's the same, right? So some people are different and I just let that be. And there was a time when we were working in teams. So when I was, trying to work on this business, but I was working with another team, and BG tried to poach my members from my team. So thankfully, my team members came to talk to me about it and shared with everyone. And then we realized what BG was doing behind our backs. So I was very angry with him. I told him to stop doing this kind of things. At some point, I wrote some copywriting for a program for one of our sessions, and BG took it wholesale and then used it to get a deal with another company. So I also told him that, no, this is not right, and I'm not okay with this. And then he just ignored as if he didn't hear me at all. So at that point, I was in a state that I know that BG is not a good person, and I didn't want to work with him. So we had a chance to, I think we're part of a common program together, and in that program, he was, surprisingly, he started being nicer to me. So he was talking about visions, about, my path and things like that. And kind of hinting, that, we might work together. And I was initially quite hesitant. But at that time, I think after the program, it also came to a state that he spoke to me, and one of the things he said that, that your current team is not going to work out. And that was a truth that I myself also knew inside. So it resonated that he kind of spoke out this truth. And I was also I really wanted to bring, this kind of inner work, awareness work into a form that can help others. And I didn't know how to do it. So BG came with a solution at that point, why don't we start a business together and work on this together? So, and I saw that, BG definitely had a better sense of business in a way, or what I thought was the better sense of business at that time. And then so I bought into it and I started to work with him. Yeah. And throughout the interactions, because we start out as partners, right? So similar to kind of partners in this, along with Audrey, partners. And somehow the power dynamic started shifting. So whenever it was always, up to me to do the work, and a lot of tapping on my sense of responsibility. So I felt like I'm responsible and I have to do the work. And I'll do a lot and a lot more and more and more. A lot of late nights, a lot of no sleep, a lot of sacrifice of my friends and my family, and all those that are close to me. And along the way, I think, so whenever BG was not happy, then he would voice it out, he would scold, and then he would say personal attacks as well, saying how I'm not good enough and I'm bad, and therefore, I am the one affecting the whole group because of my personal weaknesses and my personal flaws, and it is all my fault and things like that. So at that time, I felt like, as a person, I needed to be responsible. I need to take blame. So I just took it on, all this blame, just taking it on. And as this happened, the power dynamic between us kind of shifted. So he became more and more powerful, and I became more and more like lower down on the power rank. Yeah. And started not to have a say over things. So whenever I voice things out similar to Audrey regarding our accounts, where's the money going, at some point Audrey was so impoverished that she couldn't take the cab home, so she had to sleep in Starbucks. Yeah. Yeah, she really went to that state, and she had to go and kind of ask BG for money, and BG gave her, I don't know how much, a little bit of money, just enough to take cab maybe for the next few days. So it's that kind of like, as if then it became a very master and slave type of dynamic after a while. Yeah. And along the way, whenever he wasn't happy with things, yeah, he would get sometimes violent, sometimes, a lot more times he's more emotionally violent, at times physically violent. Messages, for example, messages coming in at 1 a.m. just before you close your eyes to go to sleep, telling you that you are bad, you did all the things wrong, you have screwed things up, and you need to fix it right now, before the next morning. And then as a result, ending up working out throughout the night again. Yeah. So, or just before important meeting with a client or someone, like in just that 15 minutes before, when you are walking to the venue, you're calming yourself down and preparing for that meeting, then he would text saying, why didn't you do this? It's all your fault. You didn't do this, you didn't do that. And then the whole internal state gets very messed up, and I need to tell the client that I'm sorry, I need 15 more minutes because I need to calm myself down before I go in to meet the client. So this kind of cycles were happening repeatedly. What woke me up at that point was external, going out of this bubble. So increasingly I went into a bubble with him. The boundaries started blurring. So he would take my things, for example, take my things, my personal things, as if it belongs to him and he has the right to take it. And the more he did that, the more I kind of allowed it and thought that that was normal. Like payments, I had to pay it upfront, and I would say, can you pay your share? And then he'll just avoid it, and then he didn't pay anything at all, things like that. And yeah, what woke me up was that I went to different places to work with other teams. So when I worked with other teams, it reminded me of how teams work, and that it reminded me that something is not right in this team, and I need to voice it out. So I tried to voice out to him what's not working, all that. And once again, it'll be brushed aside, and I'll be put down as, it's because I am too selfish, I'm too greedy, and that's why I'm talking about this topic, and I shouldn't even bring it up at all. Things like that. Yeah, so there were multiple waking up points, and multiple, it's like the state of mind keeps getting shifted based on what he said. So each time he told me that I'm not good enough, or I am doing wrong to the team in some manner, that I feel very guilty. So I guess afterwards I got to know that this is the process of guilt tripping. It created really this power divide. So that's what happened during that relationship.
What were some of the things that he, like the kind of like mental or emotional or like physical abuse that he did to you? I can start. So I think personally for me, there were quite a few incidents that remain very etched in my memory. I think some of just now it really resonated with me, like when Li Shen was talking about the threats of physical like harm. Sometimes it's not really the physical harm itself, but then he will just say something like, if it's, I think we need to put a trigger warning on our video later, but then like he'll say something like, why not you just go like jump off a building? I don't know whether you guys told you that before, or he will say, or like there was one time was really scary because we were at the, you know, there was like it's like a little island, you know, like a little island in the middle of the cross section of the road. So like there are roads everywhere, and then we are like at the traffic light waiting, so like a little triangle there. So I was like literally beside the road, right? Then he said that, do you believe me that I'll push you into the road in front of the car? Yeah, so he actually said these kind of things, which was like very shook. I was very shook now. So it's like, so that really like disoriented me, right? It's like because it's like a threat of a physical violence that was right there. Then he said that, you want me to push you in front of the car? So like these are the things that he would like say that really like threaten my physical safety. But I guess in a way he did not do it, right? So there's kind of like no evidence against the things that he would say. And I suppose that kind of like indemnifies him from a lot of the things that he would do in terms of like, you know, mental and emotional abuse and stuff like that. And I suppose another thing that he would do was to kind of like shout in public, like really loudly. So I think that kind of like breaks, like, I mean, nobody really knows how to react in that kind of situation, especially in Singapore where we are very used to minding our own business, right? So everyone around just like look at him like in a very like confused state. Then they like a bit stunned, but then nobody really like stepped in or really knew what to say or to do, and myself included as well. So just kind of left people like really befuddled. I guess it brought me a reflection point on like, you know, what would I do in future if I saw something happen to another person? What can I do to break out of my bystander effect, or like my bystander state? Having experienced that before already, I think I became a lot more empathetic to like potential abuse cases that happens in the broad daylight, but nobody ever like thought to do anything. Yeah, so I think, yeah, so some of these things happen. I guess, yeah, and I guess like it's just like what Li Shen mentioned, a lot of like the F words everywhere, like in, you know, in the messages, right? He'll send like chunks of it, like in like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. He'll just like FU that kind of thing, like a lot like and in different variations and forms, colorful language. And I think it's not so much about like the vulgarity itself, because I believe all of us will say it, but it's that what kind of context do you say in like it's a threat to you as a person, not like casual remark. And yeah, so I guess that all these accumulated really put me in a pressure pot, like a pressure cooker kind of thing. Setting a bit of context as to why we allow this to keep happening from my own personal reflection is that it's because he pitched you a vision. So actually that there was this particular vision that you really, like, I really believed in. And that, but the thing is that he told me that, I mean, he portrayed himself to be the only person who could reach that vision, who helped me reach that vision. So he tied himself to my vision, and then he made me believe that there was nobody else, and not even myself, who can get myself there to the vision. And that's why it became like synonymous. So like these two must come together. So no matter what happens, I would tell myself, oh, I have to bear it, because if I want to reach my vision, there are sacrifices to be made, or like there are compromises, and I might need to bear a lot of other things in order to reach my vision. And as a result of like kind of blindly pursuing what I believe was right for me, I kind of like lost track of my personal boundaries along the way. Yeah. So that was like some of the things that happened to me. Not sure whether Li Shen and Audrey can share, so that we can give our listeners some insight on, like, you know, what was the experience like, but why was it that we stayed anyway?
I think one of the incident that I remembered vividly, it was at Starbucks. So basically at a point in time, we three of us to have a meeting, like between Li Xuan, me, and BG. So we are sitting in Starbucks. Then suddenly, right, I mean not suddenly, so we're having a discussion. Then Li Xuan brought up something, a point that is there is a disagreement, it's a valid point for discussion. Then BG felt very triggered. He felt that we are questioning his power and stuff. Then he went into a very angry mode. So he started scoring vulgarities very loudly. so loudly that the entire Starbucks people can hear him. Like everyone sitting around can hear us. Then he started throwing like pens and notebook at Lishan. Then then there's this uncle like 2 tables away. He kind of like he came in the picture, then he stopped him like from doing this. The uncle said that, right, if you don't stop, right, I'm going to call the police. Yeah. So I thought that, wow, the uncle is very brave. So at that point in time, I was like shocked and scared. So I don't dare to say anything. So I just like sit there like stunned, like thinking about what happened. Yeah, yeah. Like because at that point in time, I'm scared. And on hindsight, right, I felt that I could have stand up for Lishan instead of letting cross this kind of like boundaries. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm very surprised by, I mean, at that point in time, I was just like scared and stunned. There's no reaction. Yeah. So I think this is one thing that he did. Yeah.
But after that, like what happened? Because I remember you guys shared with me that like, and then you told the uncle that it was okay, right? So like what went through your mind?
At that point in time, BG let me to say that, let me to tell the uncle that we are okay, like we're having a normal discussion. Then we kind of left the place. Yeah, so that the uncle couldn't really come. Yeah.
It was a fear of BG's retaliation to you, right?
I
Or
think
did he really like make you, how did he make you say that you're okay?
I think at that point in time, I still trusted him. The trust wasn't broken yet. So I still see him as a friend. So I felt that that's just his personality and character. Maybe other people outside don't really understand it. Yeah. So I thought that it was okay. Yeah. Yes. At a point in time, my boundaries wasn't strong anyway. So a lot of things I kind of like forget and forget. Yeah. I feel that yeah, okay, it's just his personality. It's okay. I think it's like maybe there's like over acceptance, if there's such a thing. That I kind of accepted like, oh, this is how he is. Then I stopped. Because at a point in time, my reality is also a bit warped. Like I have no sense of like what's right and what's wrong because I don't believe in myself. Thanks to all this brainwashing things that he constantly tell me, things like not good enough, blah blah blah, all this bullshit. Yeah, because before I joined him on this business, I used to be very confident of myself, confident of my ability. But I think through this 1.5 years of working with him, like he slowly break down my confidence. He slowly break down my sense of reality, what's right and what's wrong. He made me believe that he's always right. Yeah. Like whatever things that I said is wrong, I should believe and trust him. I know that it doesn't sound logical because like, but it's those kind of like weird situation. It's kind of like a emotional state that due to like fatigue plus burnout, my brain wasn't thinking very clear and straight. Yeah, it's kind of like in a very fuzzy, blurry, weird zone that I'll just trust what he's saying. Yeah, I think once right, I did retaliate like by being strong on my points, but he's able to kind of like within different things, use different tactics, emotional manipulation tactics to break down my defenses, such that I believe in him even more. Yeah, I think this kind of tactics is quite scary actually. Like how he's able to break down people's defense and lead people to think or say the things that he wanted people to say. I think this is pretty high level.
It was only recently that I spoke to like someone who also encountered BG before, that I think kind of like having us as like partners, right? It really helps his case, because if he did it alone, right, nobody will trust him. But it's because that we actually confuse all the clients because they trust us. So like that this guy that I was talking to, he said that, you know, the only reason why he agreed to work with us for like my project with BG, right, was because he trusted me. He said that he felt very weird. He said that he doesn't trust like BG, but then at the same time, there's this like person that he trusts also. So it really confused them because they I think it's like kind of association, right? So they'll be like, oh, but then this person is like trustworthy, so technically I should trust like this team and the people and the situation. So I believe that he could not have done it alone. BG could not have done it standing alone, because when people talk to him one-on-one, it's like the trust is not there. But then when you have like a team who, let's say for example the uncle stood up for you, but then you said it's okay, then the uncle trusts you, so he back off. But if let's say BG was there alone, or like nobody stood up for him and his integrity, then he probably would have gotten caught a lot faster and a lot more often. But I think it's because of like the people around who are trustworthy, who defend him all the time because he manipulated them to do so. Then he actually grew in power. So actually the people around him facilitated him, while he pushed them down, they actually helped him rise. So it's something that I realized only like 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Because I mean, like after we left, right, we look at I mean, like this kind of thing, we're not the first one. We also wouldn't be the last one. So we look at, I mean, I look at the past kind of like praise. Like I realized there's a trend in terms of who he likes to target and what is the tactic that he often pull on people like us. So usually he like to like find capable people to work with and break down their defenses and confidence level to make people think that he's the best. He's very powerful and stuff. Because in a way, right, he's trying to widen the gap between like this power dynamic. Yeah. Then I mean in the business, credibility and trust is very important. He know that he cannot build the trust himself, so he tapped into other people's trust for him to build up his like audience and base. Yeah. One of the emotional manipulation technique that he used, right, is actually gaslighting. He made people doubt their reality. So once, so I brought out a valid point, like, okay, so once we are having a discussion, so he fed up for no reason. So, usually if people fed up, right, isn't a good sign. It means that they're illogical already. And they are just arguing based on anger and it's not really based on facts. So at a point in time, I'm still kind of calm. So I told him the facts, like the facts that I think, so I pointed out the facts one by one, but he still shouted back at me. Then at a point in time, I was like standing up for Li Xuan. Then he shouted back at me. Then afterwards, he made Li Xuan go away. Then he come and scold me individually. Then at that point in time, I feel very like he's just being irrational. It's like, I'm stating fact. Why are you scolding me? And as a leader, why do you do this? So I have a lot of like, why, like what, like things. Yeah. So I keep pointing out his illogical side, right? Like to make him like to think about it and reflect about it. But eventually he don't listen. He just got too angry and he pushed me behind onto a wall. So I fall back. Yeah. Then afterwards, then as a form of like defense, I as a way of defending myself from getting hit, I push him away. Yeah. Then afterwards, he go and tell Li Xuan that I'm the one who hit him first. At the point in time, I was very, very confused about who is the one hitting. Like, did he hit me first or I hit him first? I was very confused, so I wasn't very sure. Yeah. But it turned out that after some verification, and it turned out that, oh, actually he's the one who hit me first. But he confused me and said that I'm the one who hit him first. So I realized that he can tell lies to support his case. Yeah, there's no truth. The things that he thought that he's saying the truth, right, that aren't true. Yeah.
Do you think he knows that he's like lying, or do you think that he believes his own like stories? Is he also delusion? Is he delusional, or is he like deliberately lying to help himself? What do you think?
I believe that he's delusional. Yeah. I think he's delusional. I don't know. I think somehow I don't think he thinks that he's lying, because he has this strong sense of so-called justice. Like he'll put out this like, oh, like a justice front that, oh, I'm right. Then what I say is like the truth. Yeah. So I believe that the story that he was telling himself is, I'm the savior, I'm the hero for the people around me. All these people, they have issues. I'm here to save them. It's okay if I say certain things to help them get out of their state. I believe that he's trying to save us, but it's a very, very warped belief, and he's very, very delusional. Yeah.
I think he split it up into two parts. The first part is he truly believes that he's trying to benefit other people, but then I do believe that he knows that he's lying a lot, but he believes he justifies it. He justifies his lie. So for example, he will think that I'm trying to help Audrey, and I'm lying because I'm saying this untruth because ultimately it's for her own good. So I believe that he does know what he's talking about, and I think I think why this distinction is important is that if we say that he's delusional, then we are like kind of like giving him a free pass to say that he doesn't know what he's talking about, or like he's just like crazy. But actually he's not. Everything is like planned and deliberate, and you can tell by the fact that he slowly edges into your boundary. He doesn't like step into it straight away. He pushes it gently, so you know that it's actually planned, and it's not something that he doesn't know what he's doing, but actually he knows absolutely what he's doing. And there's a very big difference, because he doesn't do this by accident, and that's why it's even more dangerous, because like it's very hard for people to defend that if they are subtly being manipulated versus like being manipulated by a delusional person. Yeah. Well, Alicia, what are your thoughts?
Very good point. Yeah, I do resonate with the part on the deliberate efforts. So BG would, at least when I interacted with him back then, he was very proud of himself, of how he feels that he is very intentional and takes very intentional efforts in everything that he does. And often says that how, I'm not doing things intentionally, I'm doing things unconsciously, how Audrey is very unconscious, how the rest of the world is very unconscious. And that he's doing it for our own good, that is that the world doesn't understand him and things like that. So I feel he believes his reasons very strongly. Yeah.
And I think it got to a point where he told me I don't make typos. Then I was like, bro, like everybody has a typo. It's not about I mean like in text lah. So it got to the point where these kind of things he would say is like so like blatant, but for some reason you kind of just like forgive it, like let it slide. Like whenever you see the discrepancy, you just kind of let it slide. And it's strange because like your brain kind of has this like something is not tallying, but then you still continue to accept it or like defend it, which is strange lah. I think like it's a strange mental state that we were in.
And I think Audrey described it as very fuzzy, right? Like fuzzy, dreamy, like a fuzzy, like you can't think clearly kind of state. And I do agree, it was a certain state of mind that all this was, and he would keep saying things, and that would keep us in that state of mind. The mental defense against this was not strong.
I think there's a psychological term that I found out afterwards. So it's called cognitive dissonance. So this term says that it's kind of a mental discomfort that results from holding two conflicting beliefs or values or attitude. He's damn great in doing this. So I suspect this is the reason why, right? With cognitive dissonance, two opposing belief, right? The belief that he's telling us what we should believe in versus our belief that we truly believe in. So there's this opposing voice. So we also become confused, don't know what to believe in. Because in a way we trusted him as a friend, but it's like this opposing voice that made us feel very confused.